Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be talking about 8 things you need to understand before you can improve your play. And these 8 things are very important. You can't really skip them. You need to understand them before you can really improve your play. And here is a list of them. Keys arrangement, major scale on all 12 keys, natural minor scale on all 12 keys, 7 basic chords, some extended chords, inversions, chords in the major scale, and chords in the natural minor scale. You can use the time markers to go to the topics that are particular to you. So sit back as I go through these 8 things in simple explanations. Okay, keys arrangement. Now this is a very simple topic, but if not properly understood, can be an issue. Now some people, when they look at the keyboard, they see it as sophos, like do, re, mi. They even label it. It's not bad. But the issue is, if you really want to improve your play, for which this channel is for, you have to change how you see the piano. Now, actually, everything on the keyboard, or what you call keys, they have their names. And I'm sure most of you already know it, but I'm not sure most of you used to seeing it like that. For example, this is C. I have labeled this keyboard for the sake of those of you watching this video right now. I've labeled this keyboard. This is C, this is D, this is E, F, and so on. This is very important to see the keyboard like this, instead of seeing it as, for those of you that play key C, do or re or mi or fa. Not bad, but I say get used to seeing it with letters. You said you want to improve your play. This is how it's done, step 1. So see it as letters. So one clue I can give you to make it very easy for you to understand: the keyboard is arranged, is grouped, so it's easy for you to understand the sequence. Now the black keys are in 2 groups. We have the 2 black keys, 3 black keys, 2 black keys, 3 black keys, and so on. So what I tell most of my students, I say the white key before every 2 black keys is C, and the white key before every 3 black keys is an F. And if you know those 2 white keys, it will be easy for you to trace others. So I have C, D, E, F. Another thing you can do, you can just label the piano, but label it close to the end of the keys on this side, the way I did this one, so that if you're playing, you don't clean it away. Like I'm using a temporary marker, not a permanent marker, so that in case I'm done with this class, I can actually clean it off, because I don't like seeing this. But for you who want to get used to keys, you may have to label your own like this. So label it at the edge, so that when you're playing, you don't have to clean it away. So if I'm playing something now, see, I'm putting my hands there. Even if I want to play black notes, now I know this key is F sharp because it's in between F and G. I may not be able to label it the way I labeled the others, but this already gives me a clue. So 2 things: either you just get used to knowing them, maybe through practicing naming the keys on your own, or just label them. I would advise to practice naming the keys on your own without labeling them. But anyhow that is comfortable for you, what matters is you understand what we are teaching. So you can label your piano, but better still, label it with letters, not sophos. All right, major scale. This is something that I'm sure most of you may not be used to with this name, but I'm quite sure some of you already know it. Maybe you know it as do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which is your, for example, on key C. That's the major scale of key C. But music does not call it do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It calls it the major scale. Now, the reason why it's called the major scale is a very long story. But the point about it is it has a pattern. And the same way you got your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, for those of you that play on key C, there's a pattern that causes it to be that way. It's not just because it's supposed to be white key. And if you understand that pattern, you can actually get the same do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do on any other key. For example, on key D, now this is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. On key E, sorry, on key F, on key G, on key A, on key B, and on key C, of course, again. So how was I able to play the same sound do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do on different keys? There's a pattern. And for a major scale, the pattern for major scale is actually, you get your key, for example, then you move a whole step. A whole step is when you skip 1 key. So if I'm on key C now, to skip one key, I'll land on D because I'm skipping C sharp, this key. And to skip another key from D, I'll land on E. So a major scale is the key, whole step, half step, then whole step, half step, as you can see on the screen. So we have the key, whole step, half step. Half step is when you don't skip anything. So for example, half step from E forward would be E to F. Half step from F forward would be F to F sharp. Because if you go from F to G, you're actually skipping one key. Even if it's short, you're not seeing it, but you're skipping one key. So that's a half step. So major scale is the key, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So that's how you actually get the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do of any key. So let's assume this is a key, I don't even know the name. But with that pattern, I can get the do, re, mi of that key. So this is key D sharp. But assume you didn't even know the name. So you have D sharp, the key, whole step, half step, whole step, then half step. If you observe, the sound was do, re, mi. So that's how it is. So very, very important. So you should practice this on all keys. I'll give you a list of all the 12 keys, their notes, for you to go through the major scale of all 12 keys to make it easy for you to understand. But that's the formula. That's how it is. So if you want to get it backward, just reverse the pattern. So instead of the way when you were going forward, you had key, whole step, half step, then whole step, half step. Then you start going back, half step, whole step, half step, then whole step, then the key. Like just reverse the pattern. It's like a map. Just guides you. Like let's assume we want to try it on key F. The key, whole step, half step, then whole step, half step. Then going back. This is where we stopped. Half step, whole step, then half step, whole step, which is the key again. So that's it. Very, very important. All right, natural minor scale. Just like the major scale, it has its own pattern too. Now, the pattern for the natural minor scale is, of course, your key. That's not really a pattern. It's just the key you want to use. So let's assume I want to form the natural minor scale of C. I get my key. Then I have my first pattern is a whole step. Then next pattern is a half step, unlike the major scale. Half step. The next pattern is a whole step, a half step, a whole step, another whole step. So that's a key, a whole step, a half step, whole step, half step, then whole step. It's displaying on your screen. So that's it. So if you want to do it on any of the keys, that pattern will work. So listen to the sound without calculating the steps. That's upward and forward. So with this pattern, you actually be playing natural minor. You can do it on any key. Let's try it on key D. The key, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, then whole step. So that's natural minor. So you can actually practice this, get used to them. The benefit of practicing these things is because you will need them. Trust me, you will. Because there's some things we'll be saying later on. If you don't even understand them, you may not be able to play them very well, but at least understand these things. That's the purpose of highlighting these points to you. So practice them, get used to them. At least you should be able to tell yourself, I know this thing, I've heard of it, and I understand it. So when I'm explaining some things, it'll be easy for you. So that's it. All right, basic chords. There are practically 7 basic chords I think every keyboardist should know. Some other people may have up to 9, but I think these 7 are very important. If you know them, then that's already a step ahead. So number 1, we have the major chord, as you can see, the minor chord, the diminished chord, the augmented chord, the suspended chord. The suspended chord has 2 types for the basic class. There is suspended second, as you see, sus2, then suspended fourth, as you see, sus4. Then you have the power chords. There are 3 power chords for the basic class. There are more power chords, but there are 3 power chords you should know. Then there is the 7 chords. Now, as you can see, the major chord has a formula there, 4-3. What that means is, for example, most of you know your chords like Do, Mi, So, Re, Fa, La, Mi, So, Ti, fine. But just put that one aside first. I didn't say you should stop knowing those ones. Just keep them aside. Assume this is just like a fresh understanding. So the major chord is the structure, not the sound, the structure. So when you say major chord 4-3, it means, for example, I want to play the major chord of E. After E, count 4 keys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not 1, 2, 3, 4. No. 1, that's the key after E. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then count 3 after that. 1, 2, 3. So this is like, it sounds like Do, Mi, Sa, but don't think as Do, Mi, Sa, just leave it as a structure. See it as a structure, 4-3. So how do I come about these chords? Not white and black keys, no. The root of this chord is, or let me know the word root. And the way I came about this chord is, I hold my key, any key I want to form the major chord of, then I count 4 keys, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3. So I can do the same thing for F. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. I can do the same thing for F sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3. That's pretty much it. So for key C, most of you know it like this, but they came about this chord with the same formula, 4-3. They hold C, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3. So start seeing it as structures. Start seeing it as structures instead of seeing it as the sound. Okay, so that's major chord. Then we also saw minor chord 3-4. Okay, for example, we played C major chord just now, 4-3, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Minor chord 3-4 is the other way around. So instead of counting 4, I count 3. 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is C major and this is C minor. Now I've heard some keyboardists say, maybe when you play something, they say, C that minor. What they mean by C that minor is because of the way it sounded. But what I want to correct today is minor is not the sound. Minor is the structure. Yes, it has a sound. Every chord has a sound, so we can't give a special reference to how it sounded. So I want to correct that long belief that minor is when something sounds very strange or new. No, minor is the structure. For example, look at D minor. Minor is 3-4, remember. 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of you know this one as Re, Fa, La, but actually this is a D minor chord. And to you, some of you, this is not actually a minor chord because it doesn't sound like some other things that you've heard in some songs. But this is actually D minor, D, F, A. And I got it using the formula 3-4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you want to get the major chord, the minor chord of any of the keys, use the structure. So C major, C minor. I got it with a pattern. All right, augmented chords, 4-4. So C augmented chord, for example, will be C, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. It's that simple. D augmented, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. E augmented, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our advice, keep seeing these things like structures. Don't see them as sound. You may observe the sound, but don't let the sound distract you. Be more about the structure. So augmented chord 4-4. For example, F augmented would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, the next one we're talking about now is the diminished chord. Okay, the diminished chord is 3-3. So just the same way we counted for major chords and minor chords, we'll do the same thing for diminished chords. So like I said, see these chords as structures. So when you think of diminished chord, think of 3-3 before you think about any other thing that it could mean. 3-3. So for example, in key C, the diminished chord for key C will be 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3. That's it. C diminished. So if a song is telling you play C diminished, this is what you play. Then let's have D diminished. 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3. All right, suspended chords. Like I said, there are two types of suspended chords for the basic class of chords. The suspended 2 and the suspended 4, or sus2 and sus4. Sus2, the formula is 2-5. So if I want to play the sus2 of C, then count 1, 2. Look very close. Then 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the sus2. Then sus4 is the other way around, 5, 2. So I put my hand on C. I count 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 1, 2. Structure, remember. So if I want to play sus2 of, say, B. 1, 2. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sus2. Sus2 of E. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And sus4 of E. 5, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2. So that's how the chord structure for sus2 and sus4 works. So you can try it on any of the key. Just relate with these structures. Then the power chords, like I said, there are 3 types of power chords we need to learn in this basic class of chords. There's a power chord 1 plus 5, power chord 1 plus 8, and then power chord 1 plus 5 plus 8. Now don't let the numbers or the names distract you or overwhelm you. It's as simple as it can be. So we have power chord 1 plus 5, for example, for C. They call it 1 plus 5 because it means the first note and the 5th note of the C major scale. Sounds like the do sol. So every key, their do sol is 1 plus 5. For example, do sol of B. I don't like seeing it as do sol. I like seeing it as 7 steps apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For some people, they may not be able to calculate that on time when they're playing a song. So what I would advise is there's a shortcut. Every white key has power chords like this. C, power chord 1 plus 5. D, power chord 1 plus 5. Just move up and up. 1 plus 5 for E. It keeps going on like that for G, for A. But for B, it changes. Instead of this, it becomes this. Because if you play this, it doesn't sound like it. And apart from the sound, it's not even correct. 7 steps apart. This is not 7 steps apart. This is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7 steps apart will be this. So if you want to get it quickly for power chord 1 plus 5 for C, or for all white keys, then this. So C and G, D and A, E and F, E and B, F and C, G and D, E and E, B and F sharp. And these power chords are mostly used on the left hand, but sometimes we also use them on the right hand. So you need to know them. Then there's power chord 1 plus 8. That is really simple. It's just duplicates. So 1 plus 8 of C, duplicate C, duplicate D. Don't need to calculate anything, just duplicate the note. So repeating the note on 2 octaves. So 1 plus 8 of C sharp. These are just. So 1 plus 5 for black keys are all like this. For example, C sharp, 1 plus 5. Do sol. 1 plus 5 for D, just move. D sharp. 1 plus 5 for F sharp, just move. 1 plus 5 for the next black key, just move. And 1 plus 5 for this black key is going to be this. So this is the only black key that has a white key complementing it for 1 plus 5. Just like the white keys were like this. Then the black key changed it for B. So the same thing for black keys. 1 plus 5, C sharp. 1 plus 5 for D sharp. 1 plus 5 for F sharp. 1 plus 5 for G sharp. 1 plus 5 for A sharp. So this is how I like saying it. Instead of calculating several steps, which is also good, but it could slow you down. So I like just saying it like they are all black keys, but this one will be white. And the white key for this A sharp is F. And for the white keys, they are all white keys. So you have to calculate it correctly. So you have power chord for C, C and G, 1 plus 5, D and A, E and B, F and C, G and D, A and E, B and F sharp. Then for the black keys, C sharp and G sharp, D sharp and A sharp, F sharp and C sharp, G sharp and D sharp, A sharp and F. So this is very, very important, very important. Like I said, they mostly played on the left hand, but sometimes we use them on the right hand too, but mostly played on the left hand. Then the third power chord is the 1 plus 5 plus 8. I only use 2 keys to demonstrate this. You can figure out the rest for the sake of the time of this video. So 1 plus 5 plus 8 is a combination of 2 power chords. Actually, the first 2 power chords. So 1 plus 5 for C was C and G. For C was C and C. So 1 plus 5 plus 8 would be C, G, and C. Mostly used on the left hand, but not only on the left hand. Rarely on the right hand, for what I've seen, but mostly on the rarely on the right hand, but mostly on the left hand. So 1 plus 5 plus 8 for C. So you must have heard songs where they play, they go. All this is I'm playing on my left hand, like power chord 1 plus 5 plus 8. So you see me using them sometimes when in future tutorials. So I need you to know them. So 1 plus 5 plus 8 for C, C, G, and C. 1 plus 5 plus 8 for D. 1 plus 5 for D was D and A. 1 plus 8 was D and D, of course. So 1 plus 5 plus 8 for D will be this. So the simple thing is, if you already know the 1 plus 5, just add the notes you had here. That's it. So if you already know 1 plus 5, let's assume the 1 plus 5 for D sharp was this. Just repeat this note upwards. So that's why the 1 plus 5 is very, very important. If you know the 1 plus 5, 1 plus 5 plus 8 will not be hard. It's just to duplicate the first note you're playing. So 1 plus 5 for F sharp, for example, was this. Just play another F sharp here. For F, play another F here. Sometimes they're played once, sometimes they're played. So there are times where the song needs 1 plus 5, or 1 plus 8, or 1 plus 5 plus 8. So those are the basic power chords you need to know for this stage. Alright, inversions. Inversions are simply the rearrangement of chords. So for example, in key C, we had C major chord, we had C, E, G. So inversion means I rearrange this chord. So we can have, instead of C, E, G, we can have E, G, C. That's, I take this note upward. So instead of having C here, I remove it and come and play this one. Or instead of having the original C, E, G, I can bring this G backward. It's still the same C, but I just have different sound. And I can just keep going up again, just like that. So we have C, E, G, which is the root. They call it the root chord, root position, where you have the original positions of all the notes in the chord. No inversion has happened yet. Now I've heard some people calling this one first inversion. Is wrong. This is actually the root position. There's no inversion yet, because inversion means to rearrange, and this one has not been inverted yet, so you can call this one first inversion. The first inversion will be where you remove the root, only the root, and take it upward. The root is C, which is the first position of the chord, so it goes up. That's first inversion. The second inversion is where you make the highest note the lowest note. So here it used to be C, E, G. G becomes the lowest note. G, C, E. It can still be here. G, C, E. It can still be here. G, C, E. Still second inversion. So root, first inversion, second inversion. Try this on any of the chords you've learned. For example, G major. This is G major. Remember how we got major? 4-3. G major. So the first inversion for G major will be removing the first note and making it the highest. So meaning G will go upward. That becomes B, D, G. Then second inversion is making the highest note the lowest, which in this case is D. So it becomes, all the other notes remains, G and B, it remains. But D becomes the lowest. And I told you you can have it anywhere. This is the second inversion for G, G major. You can have it anywhere. You can still have it here. G, B, D. D, B, G, B, sorry. You can have it anywhere. That's inversions. There are third inversions, but when we are dealing with some extended chords, that's why you have third inversions. But the purpose of this video is to just show you how inversions work. They are very, very important. They help to make chord progressions or chord movements from one to another easier, and also give us better sounds. As for the extended chords, we'll introduce them as we go into future tutorials, so you'll be getting to know some of them as we go. But the good thing is, if you understand basic chords very well, extended chords are not actually hard at all. In fact, basic chords will give you an advantage in understanding any extended chord that I have to teach on this channel. For the chords in the major scale, as you can see, these are chords you will use in every major scale. The first chord is a major chord, the second one is a minor chord, the third one is a minor chord, the fourth one major, fifth one major, sixth one minor, and the seventh one diminished. What this simply means is that in key C, for example, you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B. These are the notes of C major scale. The first chord will fall on C, and C will be a major chord. The second chord will fall on D, and D will be a minor chord. And C, the major chord of C is C, E, G. The minor chord of D is D, F, A. The third one is also a minor chord, which is E. That's E, G, B, which some of you will call Mi, So, T. Then the major chord of F, F, A, C. That's F major chord. The fifth one is G major chord. The sixth one is A minor chord. And then the seventh one is B diminished chord. So what this means is, if you're playing on key C, or if a song or a singer was singing on key C, these are the chords you will use to back up the singer as a keyboardist. So this law applies for every other key that are in their major scale. For example, if a song is on F major scale, as you can see, the notes of F major scale is F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E. Now that means the first chord will be an F major chord, the second chord will be a G minor chord, the third one will be A minor chord, the fourth one will be B flat major chord, and fifth one will be C major chord, the sixth one will be D minor chord, and then the seventh one will be an E diminished chord. So what that means is, if the song was on F, these are the chords you will use to play the song. Now that doesn't mean these are the only chords you will ever play on key F, but these are the primary chords in key F, or the most important chords. Every other chord will just be invited or borrowed by advanced use, but not in every case. Now I understand that this may be a lot of information for you guys, but it's worth it. I think if you can try one key every day, in 12 days you have mastered the 12 keys, at least mentally. So you can give yourself like a task. Every day go through one key. So start with key A and say, what are the notes of key A? I'll give you the chart of all the 12 keys, that you can go through and look at. And I'll also give you some tips to help you memorize them, because memorizing them is also very, very important. There are some things that will help you master some keys. For example, in key C, there is no sharp or flat. That's already one tip about key C. It's C, D, E, F, G, A, B. There are other keys that have just one sharp. So I'll arrange all these things. So you can give yourself like a 12 days challenge. Key A, What are the notes of key A? What are the chords of key A? Go to key B. You can even do 2 keys in one day, and in 6 days you're done mastering these things mentally. So even if we'll continue with our classes, at least one thing is that you have already gotten a hang of all these theories I've discussed in this episode. So this is very important for you. I prefer you do it every day than say, oh, I wait for the day I have all the time. 30 minutes every day is still better than having 5 hours one day and never practice again. If you have 30 minutes every day to go through all these theories again, you will do better than someone who had 6 hours or 12 hours one day and just relaxed. So you may be so busy, and I understand, but give yourself, say, 1 hour. I mean, I'm very sure every one of us have 1 hour to spare. Go through these things. If you have your keyboard, try them. Try to get the notes. Try to test your memory on these things. Get the notes of a particular key and be organized. If you want to do F, do F. Don't try different things. And discipline is also very, very important. If you know you have things like this to master and learn, you can't be trying everything you hear on the street or everything you just think you want to do. Your time with your keyboard or with your notes or with this video must be very, very, very effective. So give yourself that challenge. If you don't have the goal written down, you may never really achieve it. So you can tell yourself, I want to master the 12 keys in 12 days. At least mentally. That's for the busy people. If you're not a busy type, you can do 4 keys in one day. In fact, I would have feedback responses for those of you who did this challenge. I'm very sure there'll be a lot of positive responses. So try these things. I know I didn't go in details, but like I said, these are things you should know before you can proceed. If I was going to take my time to explain them one by one and take all the time to really go in deep details, this video will be very long. So I had to go in few details for you guys. So you can ask me questions in the comment section or in the WhatsApp group chat. I'll be very happy to answer them. But like I said, do not be afraid about these things. It will help you if you can set a goal for yourself. And I am positive that if you follow these advices, you would have great outcomes. So once again, if you have questions, leave a comment below. And you can always go back and watch these videos over and over again. And please do well to go through them because it will go a long way in helping you understand everything I'll be teaching on this channel. And you can also use the time markers to skip to the parts you think you really need clarity on. And also remember to like, subscribe, and feel free to share this video to someone who might need them, and also get them to subscribe so they can get updates on every of my new uploads. These tutorials are completely free, but you can support the channel with free donations. And special thanks to those who financially supported the making of this video. God bless you, and see you in the next episode.